People love to act like the left and the right are completely different animals. Like one is a noble eagle soaring high, and the other is some dirty vulture picking at roadkill. But here's the truth. They're both wings on the same damn bird. Same feathers, same bones, same stomach, same beak. And guess what? That bird is up there flying over your head shitting on you, no matter which wing it flaps harder. They want you to think you're part of some great moral struggle between good and evil. But all you're really doing is arguing about which wing of the same filthy pigeon dropped the mess on your windshield. It's a brilliant setup. They split people into teams. Red team, blue team, blue team. Left wing, right wing. Donkey, elephant. Like it's some big wrestling match and you've got to pick a side. But behind the curtain, both wings are attached to the same body, the body of power, the body of money, the body of corporate ownership. The same bird controls the flight path, and you're just along for the ride, ducking while the droppings fall. They don't care which wing you support. They just want you screaming at each other, so you don't notice the whole bird is aiming at you. Think about it. Every election, they trot out the same script. One wing tells you the other wing is dangerous, corrupt, evil. If those guys win, the country's finished. Sound familiar? Then the other side comes back with the same lines. No, if those guys win, the country's finished. And people buy it every damn time. They scream, they fight, they foam at the mouth. Meanwhile, the bird keeps flying in the same direction. More wars, more debt, more surveillance, more money funneled upward. The flight never changes. Only the wing beats do. And here's the kicker. Even when people realize both sides are corrupt, they still pick one. Because the bird convinces them, well, this wing is slightly better. This wing shits less, this wing flaps a little more gracefully. And people fall for it as if it matters whether the crap that hits you is left-wing crap or right-wing crap. Guess what? Crap is crap. You're still the one stuck cleaning it off your head, your car, your paycheck. The bird doesn't care. It's just lightening its load. Look at the so-called differences. The left says, we care about the poor. The right says, we care about business. You know what they both care about? The donors who keep them in power. They both cash the checks, they both take the bribes, they both bend over for the lobbyists. They just tell you different bedtime stories so you'll feel good about which wing you chose. And while you're tucking yourself in under your red or blue blanket, they're robbing you blind in your sleep. It's like watching a football game where both teams have the same owner. You're in the stand screaming, painting your face, waving your foam finger, and at the end of the night, no matter who won, the owner takes home all the money. That's politics. The owner is the same. The wings are just uniforms. You think you got choice, but the bird already decided where it's flying. And it's flying straight toward whatever nest the billionaires built for it. And people defend their wing like it's family. They'll say, oh no, my side is different. My side cares. My side's honest. Really, show me one. Show me one who didn't end up feeding at the same trough, padding the same bank accounts, playing the same dirty games. You don't get to that level of power unless you've been trained to serve the bird. They weed out the honest ones long before they ever make it onto your ballot. If you see their face on TV, it's because the bird approved it. And if the bird approved it, it means they're not serving you. They're serving the body. Look at war spending. Left wing, right wing, it doesn't matter. They'll argue about schools, health care, taxes, abortion. But when it comes time to write another $1 trillion check for bombs and drones, suddenly both wings are flapping in perfect rhythm. Suddenly the whole bird is soaring with excitement. Because that's what keeps the owners happy. That's what fattens the nest. You can't get both wings to agree on whether the sky is blue, but you can get them to agree in 10 seconds to invade another country. And you think you're choosing? No, you're just picking which feathered sales rep delivers the same marching orders. And let's not forget the little crumbs they drop to keep you loyal. Left wing says, we'll give you some social programs. Right wing says, we'll cut your taxes. Neither one delivers in any meaningful way, but they give you just enough scraps to keep you cheering. It's like a bird dropping half a sandwich crust and convincing you it's a feast. Meanwhile, the bird itself is dining on steak in the corporate penthouse. And you're outside, fighting your neighbor for a piece of bread that was already stale when it hit the ground. That's the beauty of the two-wing scam. It makes people think they're enemies when they're really roommates in the same cage. One screams left, the other screams right, and both miss the fact that the bars are locked and the keys are gone. People keep arguing about which wing will finally lead them to freedom, but wings don't free you when you're stuck in the shit below. The bird doesn't care which side you're on. The bird cares that you're distracted enough not to notice it's the one crapping on both of you. And every few years they give the bird a fresh paint job. New slogans, new faces, new promises. People fall in love with it all over again. This time it's different. This wing will save us. And sure enough, 4 years later, you're standing in the same pile of crap, just with a different smell. The bird didn't change, only the feathers did. And if you still think your side is the good one, go back and look at the trail of droppings behind both wings. Same stench, same mess, same victims. You. That's what people don't get. They think they're choosing the flight path, but they're not even on the bird. They're not in the cockpit, they're not steering, they're not even passengers. They're the ground crew. They're the poor sap standing underneath, covered in droppings, while the bird circles overhead, owned by the same people, heading to the same destination, laughing at how easy it is to keep everyone arguing about which wing is better. The whole point of this left-wing, right-wing nonsense is distraction. Keep the people fighting each other so they never notice the real scam. That's the entire trick. They don't need to solve problems. They just need to give you someone to blame, and they've got it down to a science. Half the country blames the left, half blames the right. And nobody looks up to see the bird itself dropping the same pile of crap on both of them. That's how power stays in power. By turning neighbors into enemies while the real owners walk away with the loot. You ever notice how the media works overtime to keep the division alive? Every night it's us versus them. Good versus evil. Your future is at stake. They tell you if the other side wins, it's the end of civilization. That's not news, that's fear marketing. It's not journalism, it's professional finger-pointing, and people eat it up. They tune in, they get mad, they shout at the screen. And while you're foaming at the mouth over some soundbite, the corporations running the show are cashing another round of advertising checks. Because outrage pays. Division pays. Unity doesn't sell commercials. Anger keeps you coming back for more. And the system knows how to play both sides perfectly. They don't care which team you're on. They just need you to pick one and hate the other. If you're a conservative, they'll pump you full of stories about liberal insanity. Drag queens, pronouns, immigrants taking over, all the scary things that keep you up at night. If you're a liberal, they'll pump you full of stories about conservative lunatics, gun nuts, religious fanatics, greedy billionaires plotting to destroy the planet. And guess what? Both stories have some truth. But they're exaggerated, distorted, and weaponized to keep you terrified of the other half of your own country. Because if you're busy fighting your neighbor, you're not paying attention to the landlord raising your rent. If you're screaming about what someone posted on Twitter, you're not noticing that your paycheck buys less food every year. If you're arguing about bathrooms, flags, or mascots, you're not asking why billionaires keep paying zero taxes while you're drowning in debt. That's the distraction. They dangle the cultural arguments in front of you like shiny toys, and while you're wrestling over who gets to play with them, the real theft goes unnoticed. They've mastered the art of making people believe that their neighbor is the enemy. Not the banks, not the corporations, not the lobbyists. No, your neighbor, the guy across the street with the wrong bumper sticker, he's the reason your life sucks. She's the reason you're broke. That family over there with a different yard sign. They're the problem. It's a con. They pit working people against each other so the people at the top never have to answer for anything. And the sick part is it works. Over and over again, take election. Every cycle you hear the same lines. This is the most important election of our lifetime. They say it every time. And people fall for it. They get whipped into a frenzy. They start calling their uncle a Nazi, their sister a socialist, their coworker a traitor. Families stop talking. Friendships end. People lose their minds. And when the dust settles, what happens? The wars go on. The banks get richer. The bills pile up. And the same bird keeps flying overhead, laughing at how easy it was to get everyone clawing each other's eyes out. Even language is a weapon now. They give people labels so they can stop seeing each other as human beings. Liberal, conservative, socialist, fascist, snowflake, MAGA, woke. Once you slap a label on somebody, you don't have to listen to them anymore. You just dismiss them as part of the other side. That's not dialogue, that's division. That's a society being trained to hate itself. and the bird loves it. Because as long as you're calling each other names, you'll never call out the system that created the mess in the first place. And here's the big cosmic joke. The two sides need each other to survive. If one side disappeared, the other would have nothing to fight against. They'd be exposed as powerless frauds. The left needs the right as a villain. The right needs the left as a monster under the bed. Without the enemy, they can't scare you into voting, donating, consuming. They can't herd you back into the cage. So they keep each other alive, like two boxers in the ring pretending to hate each other while cashing checks from the same promoter. The fight is fake, but the blood is real. And it's yours. People get so wrapped up in the distractions, they start begging for their own chains. They'll demand laws that hurt them just to spite the other side. A conservative will fight against unions because he doesn't want to be called a socialist. A liberal will cheer for censorship because she doesn't want to misinformation. Both of them are cheering for less freedom, less power, less control over their own lives, all because they've been trained to believe that hurting the other side is more important than helping themselves. That's distraction at its finest. And don't forget social media. That's the gasoline on the fire. Now, you don't just fight once every 4 years, you fight every single day. You fight in comment sections, in group chats, and memes. You fight with strangers you'll never meet and friends you'll never see again. And every click, every share, every furious rant lines the pockets of billionaires who own the platforms. You're not fighting the system, you're feeding it. You're giving it data, money, and power every time you take the bait. And you think you're winning because some stranger clicked a like. That's not winning, that's addiction. The beauty of the distraction is how cheap it is. It costs nothing to keep people arguing about cultural issues. It costs nothing to pump out headlines about celebrities, scandals, and symbolic nonsense. And it costs everything to actually fix problems. So guess which one the system chooses? They'll give you endless drama to chew on, and you'll never notice your teeth are falling out. They'll give you red meat for the culture war while your real meat costs 3 times as much at the grocery store. And when people start waking up, when they start noticing the distraction, what does the bird do? It flaps harder. It doubles down. More culture wars, more identity politics, more division. They don't care how ridiculous it gets. They'll argue about plastic straws while the oceans die from industrial waste. They'll fight over who gets to use which bathroom while corporations buy up all the housing. They'll scream about cancel culture while your job ships overseas. As long as you're angry at each other, you'll never be angry at them. That's the whole design. Keep you divided, keep you distracted, keep you too busy fighting each other to realize you're both standing in the same pile of shit from the same bird. The truth is simple. It's not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. And as long as the bottom half keeps fighting each other, the top half keeps flying free. You want to know who really runs this place? It's not the left wing, it's not the right wing. It's the owners of the whole damn bird. The real owners, the ones who don't show up on your ballot, the ones you'll never meet at a campaign rally, the ones who don't waste time arguing on TV. They don't need to, they already own everything. They own the politicians, the judges, the media, the lobbyists, the think tanks, and every institution that keeps you believing you've got a say. They're the ones writing the script while you're busy fighting over the actors. They own your job. They decide if your factory stays open, if your office downsizes, if your paycheck shrinks. They own your house, because most of you rent from them or owe them a mortgage. They own your food, because a handful of corporations control everything in your grocery store. From the milk to the bread to the damn bananas. They own your water, your medicine, your power grid, your internet connection. And if you step out of line, they can shut it all off. You think freedom is picking a party? Freedom is when you can live without depending on billionaires for your survival. And you don't have that. Nobody does. And the politicians you worship, they work for the same owners. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle they pretend to sit on, they're reading from the same script. They go to the same fundraisers, take money from the same donors, get cushy jobs from the same corporations when they retire. You think a senator gives a damn about you? He's thinking about his next gig on the board of Lockheed Martin or Pfizer. He's thinking about how to cash in after the show. And he will. Because he's already done what he was hired to do. Protect the bird, keep it flying, and make sure the droppings keep landing on you instead of the people at the top. The real owners don't care if you call yourself a Democrat or a Republican. That's for the peasants to argue about. They're laughing at the whole show. They fund both sides, hedge both bets, own both wings. If the Democrats win, Wall Street wins. If the Republicans win, Wall Street wins. That's not a choice, that's a monopoly. The owners don't lose elections, they own the elections. They set the rules, they draw the districts, they control the money. They own the media that tells you what's happening. You don't elect leaders. You elect spokespeople for the ruling class. And when they say the American dream, they're not talking about you. The dream was never for you. The dream is for them. The dream is a stable, obedient workforce that consumes endlessly and questions nothing. They want you working, buying, and dying without ever noticing who's writing the rules. That's the dream. And if you do happen to wake up and ask questions, they've got distractions ready. Culture wars, identity wars, fake scandals, and cheap entertainment to keep your brain busy while the owners keep counting. They own your kids too, by the way. They decide what goes in the textbooks, what gets cut from history, what your children are taught to believe. They load them up with debt before they even get a job, and then they lock them into the same system for life. Work, debt, taxes, consumption. Repeat. That's not education, that's training for obedience. And they own the universities, the testing companies, the loan industry. They make sure your kid will spend half a lifetime paying off a piece of paper that qualifies them to keep the machine running. And don't kid yourself about the media. The news isn't telling you what's happening. The news is telling you what the owners want you to think is happening. 6 corporations control almost everything you watch, read, and hear. 6. They decide the stories, the framing, the limits of debate. They make sure you're never asking the questions that matter, because the moment you do, you'd realize the whole system is rigged. Instead, they feed you outrage, gossip, and drama. They give you the illusion of choice, Fox or CNN, New York Times or Wall Street Journal. Just like Pepsi or Coke, Democrat or Republican, it's all the same bird. And the bird doesn't give a damn what flavor you pick. They own your health, too. Ever wonder why healthcare is a business in this country? Because sick people are profitable. Healthy people aren't. Dead people aren't. But sick people, oh, that's a gold mine. Keep you alive just long enough to squeeze every dollar out of you. Raise the prices, cut the benefits, keep you begging for coverage. Doesn't matter which party's in charge, the system never changes. Because the owners don't want it to, and the owners always get what they want. And the military, that's their private security force. They send young people off to fight wars for resources, pipelines, contracts. They wrap it in flags and slogans so you think it's about freedom. It's not about freedom, it's about profits. And every bomb dropped, every bullet fired, every contract signed makes the owners richer. And when the war's over, the same owners rebuild what they destroyed, and they bill you for it. They don't lose war. They invest in them. And you pay in blood and taxes while they collect in gold. Here's the thing. The owners don't need to control every detail. They don't need to micromanage your life. They just need to set the boundaries. They define the box you live in, the choices you think you have, the dreams you're told to chase. And inside that box, you can do whatever you want. Vote, shop, argue, protest, whatever makes you feel free. But the second you step outside the box, you'll see the truth. The bird owns the sky, and you're stuck on the ground cleaning up after it. And the scariest part? Most people don't even want to know. They're too busy, too tired, too beaten down to ask why the world feels like a scam. Nah. They cling to the illusion of choice because it's easier than facing the reality of ownership. They convince themselves that their vote, their party, their consumer choices actually matter. They tell themselves the system is broken but fixable. But it's not broken, it's working exactly as designed. For the owners, against you. That's why it never changes. That's why it never will. The bird doesn't care about your outrage, your slogans, your little political victories. The bird only cares about staying in the air and shitting on everything below. And the real owners, the ones who keep it flying, are the only ones who never get hit. So there it is, folks. 2 wings, 1 bird, and it doesn't matter which side flaps harder. You're still the one standing underneath, wiping the sand crap off your head. They keep you busy fighting about which wing stinks more, left or right, While the real bird, the system itself, flies overhead, fat and happy. They sell you division, they sell you distraction, and you buy it every time. You scream at your neighbor, wave your flag, wear your team colors, and never notice that both sides are owned by the same people. Because that's the secret. They don't care which wing you pick. They own the bird, they feed it, they shelter it, they make sure it keeps flying. And the droppings? That's your share. That's the dividend for believing in the show. The rich get the meat, you get the feathers and the mess. And as long as you keep arguing about the feathers, you'll never notice who's carving the bird for dinner. That's the real joke. You don't live in a democracy. You live in an aviary where the only freedom you have is to decide which wing you want flapping over your head when the next pile drops. And either way, the same thing lands in the same place, right on you.